Greetings, y'all. Welcome back to the garden. It's the last week of March here in North Florida, and it is sunny. It's warm. We're already in the mid-80s, and even my banana trees are starting to wake up. So I figured this would be a good time to make a little video about how to transplant pups from a parent rhizome to some other locations in your yard so you can get a little tropical forest going in no time. So join me in this little video. I'll show you a couple little quick pro tips, and you'll be living in a banana wonderland in no time. Let's go. Alright, y'all, here's a little rundown on just the basic structure of how banana trees work. As you can see, there are many what we call individual trees, right? That's a bit of a misnomer, coming out of a central subterranean underground rhizome. This one's quite large. It's probably the size of several soccer balls or basketballs. And out of that, there are little J-hook pups that grow off and eventually grow and grow and grow and get quite high depending on the variety. Some are dwarf varieties now that don't get much taller than a person, but you know, most tend to get taller than we are. And as you can see from the structure of the plant itself, it's actually just a series of very tightly wound leaves. Each one is concentrically rolled within the other. It's essentially like a giant cigar that comes out of the ground. Hopefully you can see the old rings and now the new growth coming out of the top. And eventually that leaf will then unfurl and kind of turn into the more familiar banana leaf we all know and love, looking sort of like this guy, right? But it's essentially a form of grass and herb that's more closely related to basil than it is any kind of true tree. And anything above the ground can essentially be lost. So long as you keep the rhizome at the base intact and warm throughout the winter, most banana trees will come right back when things warm up again. And as you can see, as they mature, some of them are quite straight, right? They're almost perfectly vertical. But as they get older, they will actually start to lean. I even have a little stick here to hold this guy up. And that's a sign that they're about to flower this season, right? Where I live in North Florida, it's always a bit of a race to get these guys to fruit before winter comes. So rather than doing it in one growing season like at the equator, sometimes it takes like 1.5. But once you start to see them lean, that's usually a good sign that they're going to flower soon. So the base on this guy is also nice and large, which will allow for the sort of football-shaped flower to grow up through its center and eventually emerge out of the top and hang and droop over. It sort of looks like a giant red teardrop on a stem. And from there, they will open up and the bananas will form underneath. But once you start to see your banana tree lean, that's a good sign that it's getting mature, as opposed to these, which are perfectly straight and still have a ways to go. So again, it's essentially all one plant with many different pups, extensions of itself coming off, and you can sort of surgically remove any of these pups and transplant them just like we did. Alrighty, y'all. Here's the banana tree patch I'm going to be pulling from for this particular transplant. And as you can see, we've got several large adult specimens here that I'm going to leave in place. And with any luck, these will actually start to fruit this year. And I've got several good, kind of nice medium-sized clones I can take at the bottom. I prefer to take a little bit larger pup, a little bit larger clone than the very small ones. You'll see some people take them when they're just, 6-8 inches or maybe just a foot above the ground. But I find that they don't have quite as many roots at the base. So I try to take them when they're a little bit bigger, a little bit more established, and I think this one's going to be perfect. As you can see, it's just about sort of knee-high. We've got the very first leaves of the season, got a little burnt from the frost. Then we got the next leaf that came out, and it's fully unfurled and looking good. And now we even have a new fresh third leaf coming up. And it's just going to be easy to get to because it's, kind of here on the edge of the pile. So now we'll just go kind of pull this mulch away and expose the rhizome beneath the soil, and we'll see where we need to make our cut, where we need to chop down in there with our shovel, in the hopes of getting both a chunk of the parent rhizome and a little bit of roots coming off the base of this particular pup. As long as we have a few roots, then we should be fine, and then we can transplant it to our new spot. So here's a little bit of a before shot of the banana patch we're going to be taking from, and we'll take this little specimen here and move it to our new spot over there. Right, y'all, we're down here at the base of our pup that we're going to use for transplanting, and as you can see, we're in our nice deep wood chip mulch bed here. So the first step is really to just pull away the mulch to expose the rhizome down at the base. Once we can see a bit of the rhizome itself, we'll see this pup curving off of it in sort of a J-hook fashion, and from the base of that there will be little roots growing. We'll then chop the pup off from the main rhizome here at the base, and hopefully we'll still have a few little roots left over to help us gain traction into the new hole. So first, let's pull away our mulch, and see what we're working with down here. And as you can see, it's pretty deep, right? It's a good foot or two down there. And the way banana trees grow is there's a parent rhizome, a giant root ball essentially at the bottom, and from that all of the little pups grow as time goes by. So we just want to find where it more or less connects to that main parent plant. All right, y'all, and here it is with all the mulch pulled away. And as you can see at the base of the pup here, we do in fact have a couple of nice kind of spaghetti noodle size roots coming off. There's even one hiding down here in the corner as well. So as you can see, we've got our little pup kind of coming off in like a little J-hook fashion. At the base of it, we have some sort of spaghetti noodle worm-sized roots intact. And now we'll go in and cut at the base of this pup, sort of behind here. You can either use a sharp shovel or something like a sawzall, reciprocating saw, something like that. Just anything that can make a nice sharp cut. And then we'll take this pup with its few roots at the base here and then go and move it to our new spot on the other side of the yard here. The trick is to just make a nice clean cut so we do as little damage as possible. But you can see it's got nice healthy roots, which means our transplant should go nice and easily. All right, y'all, I'm just here with a sawzall, a reciprocating saw, with just kind of an old beat up wood cutting blade on it. I'm going to use it to essentially separate the pup from the parent rhizome. I'm just going to kind of make a V-shaped cut. One cut here, and then one cut on the other side as well. And that's just because I'm kind of here by myself, one-handed. And this will just make a nice, quick, clean cut down the center, and I don't have to risk chopping it up with a shovel and perhaps damaging the parent rhizome a bit more. So I'm just going to go in here, do a little cut on the other side, and it should come out nice and clean. And there we go, y'all. We can see where we've cut it from the parent rhizome, and we've got a nice little collection of roots coming off. And the main rhizome itself is still nice and intact. Just a small little cut. The other roots are fine. We'll fill our mulch back in, take our pup over to the new site. We've got some good roots, we've got a good stalk, and a nice clean cut. So we should be good to go. All right, y'all, here's a little bit better shot of the structure of a banana pup. As you can see at the base here, we have a collection of roots coming off from the parent rhizome. And you can see where we made our nice clean cut, right, from the mother plant. And we also left ourselves with a little bit of new roots, right, so we can get well established quickly. And you can see how it has this sort of J-hook shape to it as it came off of the parent rhizome down here. Grew off in a little J shape. Let the car go by. And then it came up here, first with one leaf on the left, and then another opposite to that on the right, and now one on the left, and then the next one will come out on the right, and so on and so forth it will go. But you can see we've got several good leaves at the top, and we've got several good roots at the bottom, and a nice, thick, healthy bit of rhizome so that the plant has plenty of nutrients and energy to get well established. So now we'll take our pup, put it in our little prepared hole over here, and then we'll water it in and get on with it. Here's the hole I have prepped. It's nothing special. This is just 100% pure, plain yard dirt that I've gone in with the shovel and, just softened the soil up a little bit, pulled away some mulch, which you see I have on either side here. And this is in a natural low spot in the yard that's going to catch a lot of water. It may be hard to tell, but there's actually a little bit of a drainage ditch here that kind of comes in this direction. And I try to always put my banana trees, if it's not somewhere that I just want them to be aesthetically, then I try to put them somewhere where they'll naturally catch a lot of water. It saves me from having to do some work, and it can actually help, prevent erosion and stuff in the landscape. So if you have, a low spot in your yard or an area at the downspout of your gutters, places like that, those work great. And it's just a nice kind of cheat code for getting lots of free water without having to schlep buckets of it yourself. So now that we've got our hole here, I'm going to just add a little bit of our slow release organic 666 fertilizer. Just give that a little scratch. Get these little bits of debris out of here. And now we can take our pup. As you can see, the roots are very shallow. You don't really need to bury these terribly deep. There we go. And that looks good. You can see we've got our pup up here, going down to our base down here. Not too shallow, not too deep. So now we'll fill in our hole, cover it back with some mulch, and water it in real nicely. But as you can see, we've got a nice, large, say, baseball size, softball size rhizome, a nice collection of roots, a nice healthy stalk, maybe about the size of my wrist, and a few good leaves to work with. And by having a little bit of all of these traits, that's really going to guarantee success for us. Alrighty, y'all, and here she is, all watered in nice and thoroughly. Like I said, these guys love water, so when you initially transplant it, don't be shy. Just turn the hose on it for a good 5 or 10 minutes and let it get super saturated, especially if you have a lot of mulch, to kind of soak up some of the excess. But as you can see, we've got a nice, moist, green, clean stem, 2.5 good leaves, and it's right in the flow of this drainage ditch here. So like I said, with any luck, the water will just kind of naturally come through here, get absorbed by the mulch, and then slowly taken up by the banana tree itself. And I've even got a little extra stick here, just to kind of act like a bit of a dam. So this will hopefully help the yard from washing away as well. So we'll get a little before picture here. It's right about hip high, if I pull that leaf up, right about to my hip. So we'll come check on it in a couple weeks, and I bet you it'll have 2 or 3 new leaves on it by then. Alrighty, y'all. Thank you for joining me again here in the garden. Give banana trees a try. They're not only cool looking, but they're actually one of the most useful plants you could have in your yard. Every single part of it can be used for something practical. The leaves look cool, and they're also great cooking vessels. You can steam fruits and veggies on them. The leaves themselves obviously can be chopped and dropped and used as mulch. You can do the same thing with the trunks after they've fruited. They've sort of done their job, so they can be chopped down. You can slice them very thin and use them as livestock feed, I've heard, for chickens, goats, things like that. Or you can just kind of line your flower beds with them and slowly let them degrade and give up their nutrients and moisture over time. And so long as you keep the parent rhizome intact underneath the soil and keep it nice and warm, these things will overwinter quite well. And they've actually got lots of new fancy varieties that can go down to very, very cold temperatures and come in all sorts of sizes, from waist-high dwarf varieties that can fruit, to ornamental dwarf varieties, to super tall ones like these, which will end up a couple stories high, almost about 20 foot tall, and will also make fruit. And of course, the same things sort of apply to what you'll hear called plantains as well, which is basically just kind of like a starchy, unsweet banana. But the varieties are endless. You can find them anywhere from Amazon to specialty online nurseries, but they all grow the same basic way. Lots of sun, lots of water, and a little bit of patience, and you'll be richly rewarded with one of the coolest looking, one of the best tasting, and one of the most practical plants you could ever have in your garden. Every bit of it can be used, every bit of it looks cool, and if you're lucky, every bit of it will taste good too. So thank you for joining me in this one, and we'll see you in the next episode. Cheers and chews.